President Trump had another assassination attempt made against him, the second just within what's it been now? Less than 3 months since the last one. Pretty crazy when we really stop and think about it. I can't get over the fact that nobody seems to think this is a bigger deal than it is. That's what blows my mind at this point. Donald Trump playing golf, a would-be assassin identified in the bushes. This sounds like some Caddyshack. Absolutely ridiculous. And of course, the media is covering it, but they're not covering it nearly with the sense of gravitas, the sense of urgency that I think a presidential assassination effort would seem to necessitate. Maybe it's just me. I remember being in 4th grade when John Hinckley shot President Ronald Reagan. And I recall very distinctly the teachers rolling the television into the room, and we were watching the coverage, and it was unbelievable, unthinkable. What we saw happen to Donald Trump earlier this year in Pennsylvania, where he came within literally millimeters of having his head blown off in public in front of the world in what would have been basically the Kennedy assassination all over again, only with more than the Zapruder film. Rising up from that, the iconic photographs that were taken of him on that day. And it seems like it was like a year ago already to me. Is it just me? It seems like it was 6 months ago that this happened, that it's so far in the rearview mirror. 65 days ago is all it was. It feels like it was 6 months ago because the media never talks about it. It doesn't come up. It didn't even come up in the debate. Let's take a look at the footage. It came up once during the Trump-Harris debate, and Donald Trump had to bring it up himself, and he mentioned it almost in passing. Let's take a look.
I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy.
They just go on. They just go on from there. He mentioned that in passing, that was it. Moderators said nothing about it. They were too busy, presumably, calling Springfield, Ohio, and discussing if anybody had eaten a dog that day. We'll check into that. I think they were more interested in that. Well, now we've got a second attempt on his life, and this one is sure to generate far less attention than the first one because the first one was rather incredible all the way around. You had the assassin losing his life in the Secret Service response, which ultimately they took him out after rather astoundingly allowing him to set up shop within range to where he was able to do that. You had civilian loss of life, a man there with his family taking one of the bullets from the shooter in Pennsylvania just 65 days ago. You had Donald Trump turning his head at the last possible second to avoid what would have been certain death had he not turned his head at the exact right moment. And we've just moved on, apparently. Some of the social media reaction, if we can get some of these things up for you all to look at, some of the social media reaction just leaves me speechless. Here, this is Alexander Vindman, the lieutenant colonel who is not a Trump fan. This is his wife. She tweeted, "No ears were harmed. Carry on with your Sunday afternoon." 13.3 million views on X. What are we doing? This is a former president of the United States, current candidate for the office of president, who has now had 2 attempts on his life in the last 65 days. And you got people, I don't know, you characterize Rachel Vindman's tweet as you will. I think that we should be on team no assassination attempts against anybody are a casual thing. And I'm not even going to talk about the people who are out there suggesting that, oh, it was too bad that they missed him. Because we had some of that after the first one, and I'm sure that we're having some of that again. I don't want to see those posts, and I certainly wouldn't amplify any of those posts on this program. We cannot let this be normalized in our society. And it doesn't matter who is on the receiving end of the plot or the assassination attempt. We should all condemn these things completely, absolutely, 100%, whether it is our candidate or whether it is not our candidate, because that isn't the point. This is the United States of America. This is not some third world banana republic. And we cannot allow it to become normalized that, oh, well, in other news, there was an assassination attempt today. I saw trending on X yesterday. It was like the Cowboys game, something else, and then Secret Service was trending third. It's like, look, the NFL season is here. People are like, if I can't gamble on it, then move it down from the headline. Here, yeah, you can see here trending in the United States. Cowboys, Ravens, Secret Service. There, I heard that somebody tried to kill Trump today. Well, I don't know. How's Lamar Jackson doing? Because he's on my fantasy team. We got to get a little bit serious as a country, and I say that as one of America's foremost purveyors of stupid, nonsense, fun stuff. It's what I do, but there is a time to be serious, and when somebody attempts to assassinate a former president / major party nominee for an election that is less than 2 months away now, I think we got to take it a little bit more seriously, or we risk losing the plot here. Donald Trump Jr. tweeting, you know what's getting really old? Having to have conversations with my 5 young children about radical leftists trying to kill their grandfather. No person should ever have to do this in America or anywhere else. And yet I have that conversation 5 times again today. And look, people who make assassination attempts, assuming that they're acting alone, and there's always another question, right? We've spent 60 plus years since Lee Harvey Oswald. People still can't completely figure out whether or not they agree that he was acting alone or whether it was part of a bigger conspiracy. And you see the conspiracy stuff circulating. If you look online, you don't even have to start turning up rocks looking for conspiracy things circulating online. It'll find you, these things, if you're on social media for more than 2 minutes. Look, you can say radical leftist, you can say far-wing, right-wing crazies when you're talking about other things. I generally try not to judge any group by its craziest members, because pretty much any group that you name has a subsection of crazy within it, because there is a subsection of crazy within life. And so I always think that's kind of a crooked card to play sometimes if you're wanting to have an intellectually honest argument, to try to hold everybody in an entire group accountable for the worst fringe element that it contains. So I don't know the shooter's politics. I guess that he is a leftist, but I'm, 99.99999% of people on both sides of the aisle manage to not attempt to murder anyone. So, to try to pin this on something bigger than a crazy person, barring some type of evidence, you can see here in custody after golf club incident, which I understand that news organizations are slow to make declarations that might turn out to be false. And so they hold back with their wording. After the shooting in Pennsylvania, I believe they said that Donald Trump had a fall on stage, something of that nature, when clearly he had been shot at. You can see here, I had tweeted about this. Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. I had tweeted at the time, if CNN existed in 1963, Secret Service escorts Kennedy from car after he gets headache in Dallas. I understand that there is a line and the media is responding in real time, but call it what it is. Everybody saw that shots were fired in Pennsylvania who was watching this. So now we've had an incident at a golf club. So anyway, I don't know. I think the bottom line for me is I don't know how this motherfucker gets out of bed every day. Whether you support Donald Trump, whether you don't support Donald Trump, look, I would say the same thing regardless of who the candidate was. I hope for the safety of all of the candidates, because we live in a democratic republic where we're supposed to have a transfer of power decided by the people, not by bullets and ammunition, regardless of who you're for. And if you don't have a problem with it just because you don't like who the target is, I would suggest that you're in an evil mentality. And there are some people, and you don't have to look very far again on social media, that you can see that they don't have a problem with it. Move along. No ears were harmed. Are you fucking kidding me? That's like not a good person in the simplest terms who would say that. You don't mind people being murdered if you don't like them? You can joke about somebody almost being murdered? This is the second time. It's absolutely ridiculous, and we need to be better than this as a society. This should be the biggest news story in America today, and maybe it is. But we're going to spend a whole lot of time today with our eyes off of something that we should be paying a lot more attention to, because we cannot allow this sort of behavior to become normalized in our country to the point that we treat it like it's just another news story, because it's a lot more than that. And with that, I go to the international streaming star who joins me from Nashville, Tennessee, Ronnie T-Shirts. Ronnie, you've been following this closely, I know, as the details have come out and the story has developed. What are you thinking, man?
Dude, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times, and I'm going to say it 1,000 more times. You cannot hate the media enough. They are, I really think that they're the root of everything that's wrong in this country, because they frame and manipulate how so many people think and react to things. And the fact that NBC News had the audacity to post that there was a headline that there was a incident at a golf club. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, there's a million other things that they could have said that would have told the story better without actually. They didn't have to say there was an assassination attempt, because maybe there at that point they didn't know if there was an assassination attempt or not. But they certainly could have said that there was somebody hiding in the bushes with ammunition on the golf course that Trump was playing at. So yeah, you can't hate the media enough. They just manipulate everything. Here's what I think, Ricky. Why this is kind of getting swept under the rug right now? Every single time something happens to Trump, whether he gets indicted, he has an assassination attempt on him, his numbers in the polls skyrocket. And they know it. They have figured out now that that's what happens. And so they don't want to give him any bumps in polling and popularity and things like that. So again, the old adage is, no publicity is bad publicity. So they don't even want to say his name. And so they just act like nothing happened. It's despicable. This is the second time in 2.5, 3 months. And if you think it's not going to happen again before the election, I think you're a crazy person. Like, you've got to, if there's a betting line on that, you've got to be betting that there's something else will happen again, because we're still a little under 2 months away. You can't hate the media enough, Ricky.
Dude,
that's my takeaway.
This is what
dude.
I was saying. This is what I was saying. I don't know how the guy gets out. I don't know how he leaves the house. At this point. I mean, for an average person, a bullet missing their brain by like a few inches or whatever, however you want to categorize it, that would be enough to send a lot of people into a spiral where they were afraid to go outside. And you need a lot of counseling and help. And he just pretty much just kept going. And I thought, well, geez, it's pretty fucking crazy how like he's still doing his rallies and everything, more or less moving on as though it never even happened. Now he's got somebody lurking in what has traditionally been his sanctuary, I guess, which is playing a lot of golf and, the way that he enjoys his leisure time. What are you fucking, I mean, are you fucking kidding me? Does he just go back out there waiting for the next one? Because Ron, I agree with you. I mean, at this point, it seems like it would be less likely that there's not another attempt on his life between now and election day than not, quite frankly. And I don't know how the guy is even functioning, much less trying to conduct a presidential campaign.
Look,
now, MSNBC, Ron, one more thing here real quickly. MSNBC, you're hearing one of the other things that's wild for me is suggesting that he needs to tone down the rhetoric because somehow it's his own rhetoric that has caused this to happen. I mean, talk about blaming the victim, Ron.
Well, MSNBC, I mean, you don't expect anything any less than that, because they are awful. They're just awful. And anything that comes out of there, I don't care, because that's where people that are left-wing crazies go to just get in their little echo chamber with Rachel Maddow spewing bullshit at them. For me, it's the mainstream ones, man. The ABCs, the NBC, the CBS. That's where my problem is, or the New York Times, things that regular people just kind of consume on a regular basis without thinking about it. You've got to think about, like, I want to hear left-wing bullshit when you go to MSNBC, but just regular people, they're getting ready for dinner. They pop the news on, they put ABC or CBS or NBC. That's where my problem is with these people. And a lot of times it's not what they say, Ricky. It's the omission. It's just they ignore it. Like, they ignore shit's happening. And that's a problem. And then maybe they just say a little bit about it. It's just that's the problem. And the other thing, while I'm on my rant right now, is I hate to keep doing this. I hate to keep playing the what if game, but we always play the what if game as like, what if Donald Trump's son did what Hunter Biden did? The media would be all over it forever, right? And then we say, well, what if a skinhead took a shot at Harris? Do you think it would be getting swept under the rug? There's no chance, Ricky. There's literally no chance. So I'm going to go ahead and play that what if game. This guy, you said you don't know what his affiliation is. I'm only going on what I see. Maybe it was doctored because you never know anymore. Picture of his car with a Harris Biden sticker on it. All kinds of other stuff about crazy stuff that he's done that's affiliated with the left. They're protecting their own. They're not going to go out there and say some left-wing extremist did this. It's just like the last couple school shootings have involved kids that were trans. They just don't talk about it. But I can tell you, if it was some junior MAGA kid who did it, they wouldn't leave it alone. The media is the devil.
You're getting worked up. Let's go to the poll of the day. All I want is a society where we decide elections by vote and not by assassins. Is that too much to ask?
It is not.
All right. Now, boy, here's a hard pivot. Let's talk about just
Pop rocks.
meaningless bullshit. Today's option over at Super 70 Sports, you're being asked to choose between Journey, and that is, of course, Steve Perry. I mean, I guess the modern Journey, you can vote for them too if you want, but as far as I'm concerned, it's Steve Perry or get the fuck out. You've got Pop Rocks, which we all enjoyed, perhaps with some trepidation back in the day. The Dream, Akeem Olajuwon, and Miami Vice, Crockett and Tubbs, Ron. So maybe this is, I'm going to the poll of the day just, before your blood pressure shot so high that we had to send EMTs to Nashville. How are we feeling here? Who are you picking?
Oh, it was
Producer
easy.
Tim about to make his choice.
Easy. The Dream. It was easy for me. It was the Dream.
Well, it looks like Journey is outdistancing Akeem Olajuwon today. I'm clearly not on my game. I'll take the blame for this one. Pop Rocks coming in at a pretty disappointing 9.5%. Miami Vice is the choice of producer Tim, and Miami Vice running a distant third, Ron. Pop Rocks, was that just ill-advised on my part?
It was. I mean, everybody's got to have a game where they strike out, and that was. I think that's our first one that was under double digits. So, I again against popular belief here, I'm not a Journey fan. I recognize why they're liked and that they are good, but I find them annoying. Never watched Miami Vice, so I'm a huge Hakeem fan.
Wow. You find Journey annoying.
Yeah, really annoying.
You stop believing, Ron, and I
never
have a
believed.
problem with that.
No, I never believed.
You never believed in the first place.
Mm-mm.
Did you never watch Miami Vice?
I didn't.
So you dislike Journey. You never watched Miami Vice. You are honestly you are an operative from somewhere else, Ron. I don't know what country it is.
Ricky, we've had this conversation before. I had other things on my mind in the 80s than watching Miami Vice.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, this is true. Well, let's try to reclaim your American street cred here by talking about the subject that you're perhaps most passionate about this time of year, and that is college football. How about Arch Manning? 9 of 12, getting called off the bench, going 9 of 12 for 223 yards and 4 touchdowns, and then a 67-yard touchdown run. That's faster than any Manning has ever moved in the history of the Manning family tree, dude.
Yep.
That's faster than Danny Manning ever got up and down the court. I can't believe Arch Manning has those kind of wheels. What is going on here with Cooper Manning, the one who wasn't a Super Bowl winning quarterback? His DNA is so strong that he's fathered Arch Manning, who may be I don't want to say he may be the best Manning because Peyton's going to be a tough hurdle to clear, but Jesus, as coming off the bench performances go, that was about as good as they get, buddy.
So, I always use I played basketball my whole life. Was never great at it, but I played basketball my whole life. And I can go to a gym where kids are getting ready to play a game and they're out just kind of dribbling around, taking their shots, stuff like that. And I can almost immediately tell who's going to be a good basketball player just by little cues that I get. Just that run, and I know we can't show the run that he had. That's all you ever need to see again to know that kid is a badass. Like, he is a legitimate badass athlete. I just saw something where, you know how they do these, they can judge your top speeds now. And I think he was at 20 point, I'm going to be wrong by a little bit. He's like about 20.7, his top speed on that. Last year, Tyreek Hill's top speed was below that. Like, the kid is legit. And
okay, somebody's smoking crack. There's no fucking way Arch Manning is faster than Tyreek Hill.
Oh, I don't think that they're saying.
What kind of tales are you telling?
No, I don't think that they're saying that he's faster than. I said just in a game, like in a game situation that it reached top speed. Again, I'm just going off of what I read, and I always use
Dude, there is no fucking way that Arch Manning was moving as fast as Tyreek Hill there.
But he's fast.
There is absolutely no fucking way.
But he just, when you watched it, when you watch Lamar run, you're like, that is just a badass athlete. You can just tell. And that's what I thought when I saw him do that. And the fact that he's a backup, Ricky, he is a backup. Think about that. He's a backup.
Yeah.
He's a backup. It's so
like when
good.
Steve Young was the backup for the San Francisco 49ers or something. Yeah, obviously they're not losing much, if anything, when Arch Manning comes in, and I don't know. What if he's better? It's, look.
Well, so the report now is
carried away. It's one game against a opponent that, was not a tough opponent, but still pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, but I still think it's just the eye test, and you just kind of look at their movements and how they conduct themselves and how they move and stuff like that. So he is going to start. It looks like he's going to start Saturday against Louisiana Monroe, which is, again, actually not even as good as UTSA. So it won't be a good judge of really how he handles himself against real competition, but nonetheless, impressive. And you're right. It's so funny because in your head you've got this picture of a Manning. He doesn't move like a Manning, like at all. Like, not even just the speed part, the body movement part, like just how he moves his body. It's crazy.
Yeah, Cooper Manning says that he got the speed from his mama. So I don't know. Maybe now, as we're getting further down the Manning family tree, they're going to be incorporating even more facets of their game. I don't know. We're just perfecting the Manning quarterbacking. Ron, are you aware that I'm a voter now in the most exclusive, the most elite college poll? You can look at the AP, you can look at ESPN, you can look at these other places. Fuck them. Nobody cares what their rankings say. America is turning to OutKick this year. The elite top 12 every week. Myself, Clay Travis, Dan Dockage, Kelly in Vegas. I'm leaving people out. Lou Holtz, I believe Les Miles. There's a whole bunch of people here that are voting on this. And since I'm a part of it, Ron, that it's going to be just completely fucking accurate. And I will say this week, I was so unimpressed with Georgia's performance against the Kentucky Wildcats that I dropped them to 3 in my personal ranking this week, Ron. I've got the Ohio State Buckeyes second only to Texas right now, but to find out what the overall rankings are, you're going to have to stay tuned for the OutKick Elite 12, which will be dropping later today, the first one of the season. And here's a little tweet that I put out a day or two ago, and this was in response to Arch Manning. This is a classic, but Arch Manning inspired me to resuscitate it this weekend. Archie Manning is the goddamn Abraham of quarterbacking. In 100 years, 27 NFL teams will be starting one of his descendants. You know, it'll just be like Archibald Manning the 8th one day throwing for 6,000 yards and running for 2,000 yards. He'll be part cyborg because Elon Musk will have us all implanted with chips. Anyway, the Manning dynasty looks like it is going to continue for a while.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.